In the West, the individual is the basic unit of the nation, but in ancient China, clans and villages were the basic units of the nation. The individual was merely part of the collective, a negligible dot. The difference lies in that one system uses gears to drive the machine, while the other allows the machine to drive the gears. These two different social structures have created different ways of thinking. Therefore, ancient Chinese histories always recorded the deeds of kings, generals, and ministers, as well as dynastic changes, but rarely described the lives of ordinary people. In 1895, the Lumière brothers of France invented the movie camera. 4 years later, a French official named François came to Kunming, Yunnan, with this high-tech device and filmed a 51-minute documentary. His camera captured both the controversial governors and the struggling peddlers and homeless beggars. His lens, like a time-traveling magic lantern, gives us a glimpse into the urban life and customs of the late Qing Dynasty. The film begins with François' daily life. At that time, as the French consul general in Yunnan, he met with the governor of Yunnan and Guizhou. The officials entered in order of rank, with the highest-ranking officials arriving last. After the governor of Yunnan and Guizhou entered, his attendants carrying canopies followed closely behind to signify his noble status. At this moment, François, dressed in French attire, stepped forward to greet him. They exchanged bows and salutations. This elderly governor of Yunnan and Guizhou was Wei Guangtao, a prominent minister of the late Qing dynasty, who made significant contributions during the First Sino-Japanese War and the Boxer Rebellion, earning him the title of a national hero. After the discussion, Wei Guangtao left slowly in a sedan chair carried by 8 men, while officials stood on both sides to see him off. To foreigners, the cumbersome etiquette of the Qing dynasty seemed theatrical and exceeded the bounds of politeness. The so-called Confucian rites were actually tools to maintain hierarchical order and control society. The scene then shifts to the landmark of Kunming, the Golden Horse and Jade Rooster archways. Over 100 years ago, this was also the busiest place in Kunming. Looking around, one could see chaotic and dilapidated houses on both sides, with dusty pedestrians passing through, including laborers in short clothes, ethnic minorities wearing bamboo hats, and shepherds, as well as intellectuals in long cotton gowns, for whom these gowns might be their last vestige of dignity. On the sides of the street, various artisans made a living. When a monkey trainer played his drum and sang, the costumed monkeys would jump and roll according to the rhythm, providing great entertainment. Barbers had ingenious high and low stools for shoulder massages, head shaving, and face scraping, a setup that was both simple and ergonomic, providing thoughtful service. During the Lunar New Year, many folk activities were held, including performances of the 18 weapons, traditional opera, and dragon lantern dances. François even filmed in a brothel, where a geisha danced gracefully in the courtyard to the accompaniment of musicians. During the Spring Festival, temple fairs were one of the most grandiose activities. However, in François' view, the Chinese people worshipped gods not out of faith but to seek children, wealth, and peace, similar to Westerners buying insurance. Many people gathered in front of the camera, staring curiously at this strange machine, while some were scared and ran away, believing it to be an ominous object that captured souls. To assist François with filming, the Qing dynasty even dispatched 2 sailors to maintain order by driving away the crowds. A squad of Qing soldiers marched through the streets. After the Sino-French War in 1883, France annexed Vietnam and extended its influence to Yunnan and Guangxi. François, who filmed this footage, was actually a member of the Foreign Legion. After the war, the Qing dynasty reformed its army in Yunnan, forming a new modernized force called the Tuanyong. They replaced their swords and spears with locally made firearms but still wore coarse cloth pants and straw shoes, looking frail and bewildered. Essentially, the Qing dynasty modernized its weapons but did not improve the soldiers' living conditions, embodying the principle of Chinese learning as the foundation, Western learning for practical use. Foreigners often praise the Chinese for their hard work and frugality, but these virtues were actually invented for the poor. In the late Qing dynasty, China's population was about 400 million, but most people struggled with hunger. Men worked from dawn to dusk, only eating and working, and in their spare time, they repaired roads or transported goods in the streets. It was common to see dozens of people carrying one piece of cargo, as low wages made livestock almost redundant. Women sold homegrown goods on the streets to supplement household income, working in the dark to save on lamp oil, never shirking. Child labor was also widespread, with children peddling goods or working in lumber mills from a young age, and some, barely able to walk, would perform on the streets with their older siblings. American missionary Arthur Smith once wrote about an old man who, near death, struggled to reach his relative's home because it was closer to the ancestral graveyard, saving funeral costs. Despite their hard work and thrift, the Chinese lived in extreme poverty without complaining about injustice or questioning who had stolen their labor value, finding contentment in a simple meal, a mindset rooted in the belief that it has always been this way. Most of them never traveled more than 50 kilometers from home in their lifetime. In contrast, Chinese officials and wealthy individuals lived in luxury, surrounded by servants, with lavish funerals upon death, such as a funeral procession with dozens of pallbearers. In the late Qing Dynasty, it took an average of 8 poor people to support one wealthy person. Facing layers of exploitation, some desperate people gave up trying and relied on begging. The camera captured a group of ragged young beggars kneeling in succession to receive scattered grains and coins. François also filmed the entire process of a Qing court trial. Perhaps due to lighting considerations, the trial took place in the courtyard. The shackled prisoner knelt, and upon the official's command, the bailiff struck the prisoner's buttocks with a bamboo rod. The entire process lacked evidence and defense, with the official solely deciding right and wrong, leaving ample room for corruption. If you were willing to spend money, the bailiff could be lenient, and you could even buy an acquittal from the official. This is the essence of the saying, since ancient times, the courthouse door opens to the south. If you have no money, don't bother. After 1900, Empress Dowager Cixi, pressured by internal and external crises, implemented a series of superficial reforms, such as abolishing the 8-legged essay and introducing a new legal system, but these measures did not address the fundamental issues of the dying Qing dynasty. Foreigners liken Chinese feudal dynasties to a cube that remains unchanged in essence regardless of dynastic changes, dooming the Qing dynasty's reforms to failure. Meanwhile, a revolutionary wave was sweeping across the land.